Thanks for staying with us on Point. Now, former African National Congress Western Cape Secretary Songezo Mjongile has passed away. The ANC has confirmed that Mjongile passed away at his home in Morningside, Johannesburg. He had recently revealed that he was battling colon cancer. Funeral arrangements are yet to be finalized. Let's get more on this with our reporter Samkele Maseko, who is in Morningside, Sandton. A very good afternoon to you, Samkele. Tell us what's happening outside that home.
Yes, and Songezo Mjongile, the former ANC Youth League, NEC and NWC member, former head of the Lembete Trust of the Youth League, and his last position within the governing party was the provincial secretary of the ANC in the Western Cape, but did pass on late yesterday evening due to colon cancer. He did post on his Facebook page on the 29th of August that after he went through chemotherapy, it had not worked, and he had suffered a stroke, and also that his health was deteriorating at a rapid rate, and said that he would like to spend his last days on the land of the living, contributing to the renewal of the African National Congress, which is his home. I'm going to bring in one of the people who worked with Songezo Mjongile in the structures of the ANC Youth League in its formative years post the unbanning of the African National Congress post 1990. That would be Malusi Gigaba, the former president of the ANC Youth League. Mr. Gigaba, a very sad note indeed of the passing of Songezo Mjongile, who was a revered politician and also one of the industrialists in the DTI's program of Young Industrialists when Mzwandile Masina was still the deputy minister within that space. What can you say about the life and times of Songezo Mjongile?
Songezo was a dynamic individual. He lived his life in full. He was as dynamic in politics as he was socially and in the corporate sector. When we came into the ANC Youth League, you would never have imagined. He came from COSAS. We had all grown up in COSAS. You would never have imagined that he would become a corporate leader, a businessman that he became. But he had a lot of friends. That's why there is such an outcry at his loss, because he had a lot of friends. We were both his comrades and his friends, and there were many other friends who were not in politics and in other political institutions. So we are shattered. We're shattered beyond imagination at his early demise, because he was young. We expected so much. The colon cancer attack surprised all of us, and when he told us that he was suffering from it, we of course had hope that he would overcome it, but ultimately it killed him, and it's quite unfortunate. But he was a revered politician and just friend among many of us.
When you look at some of his posts, I know on the 29th of August he posted that his generation must ask a critical question. What is their role? What is their mission? You look at the role of young people within the ANC, or former young people now within your age. You seemingly have not fulfilled your mission, and you are seemingly being obliterated when it comes to positions in the ANC, as the old guard is still in charge.
Well, there is an attack. There is an attack on young political leaders in the country. And we need to regroup so that we can reassert ourselves as a united force, but in a manner that enables us to fulfill our mission. South Africa remains very much a neo-colonial society. It's controlled by the ruling class of the colonial era with their international allies. It creates an untenable situation where the achievement of the goals of the liberation struggle have been reduced to mere social reform. The building of RDP houses, the provision of water, of electricity, the supply of social grants, all of the things which, important though they are to the poorest of the poor, because they've played a big role in relieving the poorest of the poor of poverty, but they do not amount to the fundamental change in the structure of production and the property relations in our country. So our generation cannot rest until it addresses this, because ultimately we must reject the notion that black people are junior partners in the economy. We must reject the notion that black people must accept a junior role in the economy of the country. Songezo played a decisive role in the pursuit of many achievements for young people whilst he served in the structures of the ANC Youth League. The National Youth Commission, the Umsobomvu Youth Fund, the South African Youth Council, the National Youth Development Agency. But he also played a pivotal role in spearheading a number of campaigns against HIV and AIDS, the spread of HIV and AIDS, against youth unemployment, championing youth economic participation and skills development. And then he shifted towards the economic front, but he did not accept the notion that we must only accept that only a few among ourselves must own property. He himself cannot count, he couldn't count himself as one of the property owners. He is far from it. He knew he was far from it, but he thought and believed that this is a responsibility that should rest with our entire generation, and we should pursue it on behalf of all black people so that we convert them from being producers of commodities which they don't own into becoming the owners of property in our country. And that is the responsibility which we have, that we need to fulfill. And of course, to do that must start with us assuming leadership responsibilities in the African National Congress. And that is what he was challenging our generation to do, to unite, to focus on that responsibility, to think that our generational mission is not just to lead the ANC, but to change the structure of colonialism, of the colonial system, and create a post-colonial and decolonized African society.
South Africa moves to level 1 of the lockdown on Monday. What are some of the programs that you will be rolling out, since there will be gatherings of no more than 250 people permitted to honor the life and times of Songezo Mjongile politically?
There is still going to be a discussion among the generation together with the family to plan the program towards his funeral. We still need to find out when does the family intend to have the funeral, and so we will then plan backwards in terms of the memorial services. But I am sure there's going to be a lot of activities across the country. The structures of the ANC, the ANC Youth League, are going to honor Songezo, and once we've made that determination, we will then communicate to you, to the media broadly, and to members of the ANC and the ANC Youth League countrywide.
I've been seeing a lot of messages, particularly from other political formations. I've just seen a statement from Bonkosi Matigizela of the Democratic Alliance paying his condolences to Songezo Mjongile. I saw the former president of the Youth League and now president of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, also echoing the same sentiments. When you look at Songezo Mjongile, there were some controversies around him as well particularly when it pertains to the Lembede Investment Trust of the ANC Youth League, which was winded up. You look at how he became a young industrialist when it comes to the issues of DTI. What can South Africans remember him for the most?
South Africans must remember him the most for having fought for our freedom, for having sacrificed his youth and all the pleasures that youth brings with it, to fight for the freedom of our country, for having put his life at risk. And many of us, as we did that, we defied our families, which wanted us to play a more safer role and stay away from politics. But we defied our families and played that role in the struggle for freedom. So South Africa must remember that a freedom fighter has fallen, that he fought for total emancipation, and that everything he did was for the good of our country and people. Whatever his mistakes must be written on water, and we must carve all his achievements on stone so that we never forget what he did for us.
Well, as I'm just going to ask my colleague just to show you the former youth leaguers there as well. You can see who they're in government now. That would be Fikile Mbalula and Zizi Godwa. We are going to try to signal for them to come forth as well, but We're not sure if they are going to come as here as well. I'm just going to also bring in someone who lastly worked with Songezo Mjongile when he was still within the Department of Trade and Industry on the Young Industrialists program. That would be Mzandile Masina, the mayor of Ekurhuleni. Mr. Masina, your times with Songezo Mjongile working on the issues of the young industrialists within the DTI portfolio which you used to have in the 5th administration of former President Zuma.
Well, Comrade Songezo was an entrepreneur par excellence. He did everything possible to help us shape the policy discourse when we were fashioning the black industrialist policy. And I'm happy that he was able to provide very much inside information on the aspiration of the youth in the main. And the policy stands tall today on the shoulders of giants like Songezo. So I'm happy that he made that contribution, and I hope that as a generation we should be able to emulate an example of Songezo, because until we crack it into the productive side of the economy, we will remain spectators. And I think that's a call for this generation, that if we say economic freedom in our lifetime, we must work even harder ourselves to make sure that that is achieved in our lifetime.
Thank you very much, Mzandile Masina. You can see the former Secretary General of the ANC Youth League, that would be Fikile Mbalula, who worked with Songezo Mjongile when he was still the chairperson of the youth portfolio within the Youth League NEC, NWC. Mbalula is coming here to share his views as well on the life and times of his fallen comrade, Songezo Mjongile. Mr. Mbalula, condolences to you, sir, as a former leader of Songezo Mjongile. What can you share with the nation when it comes to the issue of the life and times of this gallant youth leaguer, former youth leaguer?
Well, condolences to Mjongile family, friends, and everybody who knew Songezo very well. Songezo was a leader. He's a descendant of a very dangerous generation. And he grew in the ranks and became president of a militant student youth organization, Congress of South African Students. And organically he rose and then became a leader of the ANC Youth League. And he belongs to the giant struggles of the youth of our country for liberation and post-liberation. And we'll remember him for his contribution. He died young, and I think we are saddened by his passing away. And we say to the family, draw solace from the knowledge that you are not alone. It's a great loss. It's a great loss. He fought hard. For life, but we leave everything in God's will, and that's what it is. And we walk in the footsteps of history in terms of what he wanted to be. For us is to pick up the baton.
What are some of the moments you can share with the nation that you shared with Songezo politically, particularly when you were the SG of the ANC Youth League? Funniest moments, stressful moments, moments you cherish for the rest of your life?
Well, there are many. I mean, Songezo contributed personally to me. I mean, he chose my wife, and up until today I'm still married. And then over and above that, politically we fought hard. He was an ideologue, very, very intelligent. He informed most of our strategies. He was a pioneer of the youth development document under Phoebe Potgieter, youth development that, coincidentally developed with Themba Nobatana. Themba was our researcher. Songezo was the Secretary of Youth Development. They produced a nice piece of document, Youth Development for South African Youth, and which gave, life to the existence of the National Youth Commission. And both of them passed away this year. Songezo today, Themba, few months ago, he also passed away. And how I will remember him is that he was an intellectual, ideologue, passionate about youth development, and shaped a very important piece of document, which gave life to the existence of the Youth Commission, and later on to Umsobomvu Youth Fund. We fought bitter battles in the ANC in terms of first contributing to ANC policy shake-up from the point of view of the strategy and tactics. We were the pioneers of saying the ANC strategy and tactics in terms of how it views what is the enemy. We came with the concept of white monopoly capital, and Joel Neshitenze corrected us about it, gave us politics that were wrong. And that's how I will remember him. Funny moments, we enjoyed life to the fullest with Songezo, and like I say, his biggest contribution to me, if I have to strike a personal note, the wife I have is because Songezo contributed to that, and he's happened to be a great wife and a great life that I'm living today.
In isiZulu sithi wakufundisa ukushela. Thank you.
True, yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mbalula, the Minister of Transport and the former Secretary General and President of the ANC Youth League, sharing his life and times with Songezo Mjongile, saying that he played a pivotal role in the formation of the Youth Commission, and Umsobomvu Youth Fund, which ultimately became the National Youth Development Agency. I'm going to bring in Mr. Zizi Godwa, the Deputy Minister of State Security. We understand that he has been chosen to speak on behalf of the family and also the former leaders of the ANC Youth League. Mr. Godwa, just from a family perspective, preparations for the burial of Songezo Mjongile, how are they going? What's going to unfold in the next coming days?
Well, as you are aware, thanks very much for the opportunity that as a family, the father arrived this morning from Cape Town. Almost the entire family is here except the extended. We were here to meet with the leaders of his political home, the ANC, obviously to guide what must happen next. We've almost as a family accepted what has happened. Songezo was a friend and a comrade to many others, very loyal, and therefore we wanted to give them an opportunity to celebrate his life. He had influenced a lot of people. He was very loyal to his own organization. Songezo was sick for a long time, and I think the family, we've seen him being sick almost every day, and I think his friends were close to him. As soon as our meeting is done, we're supposed to start at 12. We're delayed by a few things. We should be able to announce the way forward in terms of the burial, the location of the burial. But as you can appreciate that a number of people would want to come, as you can see here already. Last night, this morning, when we left, there was already a number of people who really wanted to spend time with their family out of disbelief, because Songezo was a people's person, very loyal, and his loyalty not only to the organization but also to everybody. And he was a symbol. He was a symbol of what this country needs. And I think we are very grateful on behalf of the family that the outpouring of support, I think it is comforting the family. The family is going through a very difficult time. As you know, he's got little kids, got a wife, he's got a mother, he's got a father. They are all here. And I think the presence of the leaders, like you spoke to them now, and many others that are still coming, it comforts us as a family.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zizi Godwa. We'll certainly speak to you after that meeting. That would be Zizi Godwa, the spokesperson of the family of Songezo Mjongile, saying that they should shed some light on the burial and political programs that will thus follow post that meeting that they are having with the family, saying that his father has arrived from Cape Town, which is the Western Cape, which Songezo's last political portfolio was within the African National Congress, when he was the provincial secretary of that province in a very difficult period, if one may say, of the African National Congress. He was the provincial secretary to the then now suspended and member of the African National Congress, was the provincial chairperson Marius Fransman, eventually voted out in a conference of the ANC, where Faiz Jacobs then took over as the provincial secretary, which that structure was ultimately also dissolved by the ANC's National Executive Committee.
Samkele Maseko giving us an update there from Morningside. Samkele, thanks for that. And with that, we come to the end of the first hour's bulletin for On